Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining another one of our Steftalks webinars. We are excited that you are here taking some time out of your day to listen about how we are embracing our new normal with AI. I have two great speakers joining us for this webinar, Fabio and Spencer. They'll introduce themselves in a little bit. If you have any questions during the webinar, go ahead and drop them in your question box. And if time allows, we'll definitely do some Q&A at the end of the webinar. We are recording this session, so you will get a recording and some key takeaways that we want you to remember that we will be pulling from this session, and we will send that to you later today. So be sure to look out for that in your inbox. And let's go ahead and get started.
Thanks, Amy. Let me go first. Good morning, everybody. Spencer Gracias here. I have this, pleasure of running Stefanini North America APAC and work closely with Fabio. So great opportunity for, AI enthusiasts today to learn from Fabio. He is really an expert on the subject. So I'll try to, make as much as questions to Fabio today, so we can learn from this gentleman.
Hi everyone. Yeah, nice to be with you here again, and this time to talk about a subject that everyone who knows me know that I love AI, but to not keep this only on the technical side. I have Spencer here that will certainly help me and challenge me, let's say, to talk about business and our daily lives in terms of AI. And so again, we'll try to have this conversation, and hopefully in the end we'll be able to engage you guys also from the audience into the conversation. So I'll start here. We have a presentation with some topics that we want to talk about. So I will start with this one that is AI landscape. Go ahead.
Yeah, Fabio, for me, opportunity today to really try to demystify a little bit AI. Well, look, there's a lot of buzzwords, and everybody talk about AI right now, and there's a lot of how can I say that? It's like science fiction. There's a lot of crazy ideas going on about AI, and people are thinking that AI is gonna take control of the world. I still remember Terminator with that company that you were supposed to take control of everything. But so Fabio, now help us and bring us back to earth. And what is going on? What is real out there about AI?
Yeah, that's really a good topic to talk about in this AI landscape, let's say, subject. So you're right, and now, I mean, you talking about Terminator, but now literally you can't keep up with so many TV shows and movies about AI. Most of them bad, a few of them good, and there you go. But the thing is, we really had a lot of advances, and we are seeing a lot of AI applications nowadays. So to talk about a few of them, let's say what is impacting more and more our daily jobs and life. So first few, computer vision. There's a lot of good applications in computer vision, and they are not just released. We are using that for a few years, almost a decade right now in a few areas. So when you have from assembly lines, when you have production using cameras to check quality of parts, things like that, analyzing, satellite images. When you think about satellite photos and stuff, it's really a rich image with more than our normal eyes can see in terms of imagery. And now you have, well, face recognition and things like that, that is facing a little bit of backlash right now, and we'll talk a little bit about that in ethics, but that's another amazing application. The self-driving cars, we have cars that are using sensors and radar, but we have a lot of models like Tesla using basically images and tracking people, security and stuff. We have a lot of applications that are working right now. There's a particular detail about how they work that I'm going to talk more, but that's one of the fields that it's possible to use right now. It's important to understand that unlikely the movies, all those AI applications are looking for patterns and stuff. They're not really understanding, let's say, what they're seeing, and that's a different topic, but it's there. We can have good applications, have savings, and a lot of stuff in real applications. The other area that I like to highlight, natural language. And I'm talking about understanding, reading context, text. I'm talking about voice recognition, voice biometry. That's not quite natural language, but it's still related to language in the way we are applying nowadays. So we have a lot of those cases as well. And we've seen from chatbots, we have our own Sophie, to text mining, text applications. Again, a lot of real applications that can be used in daily life. So if you think about all the applications that we have in our homes, they're using a lot of natural language. That's the second one I would like to highlight here. And the third one, data analytics. We are drowning in an ocean of analytics happening for everything we do, the market, different companies, news, and everything. There's an army of analytics going on, and that's helping us. That's helping us to let's say, have customization or personas in the experience to predict situations. Again, from manufacturing to business decisions, we're using a lot of that. That's real. Now, the thing is, all this boom, this explosion, comes with the techniques that we call deep learning, that are using deep neural networks, that really started, more than 10 years ago. So although we have new architectures and stuff, the techniques are essentially the same that we are using since 2008. 2006 this really appeared, but we started using a few years later. Now, that has a major flaw, that's the thing that we will discuss here. And these systems are not quite thinking the way we think, are not quite understanding. And we believe that to take the next step to AI, that could be closer to what we are seeing in the movies, in the science fiction movies, hopefully not the bad ones, but to take us closer to that, we'll need to change the way computers think. So that's a point. And what I like to say, another buzzword that maybe you guys are listening, is that, we have artificial narrow AI, meaning that we can apply AI successfully to a specific problem, but we don't have what we call artificial general AI. That would be that kind of robot of conscience entity that we have in the movies that could take us to the next level. Yeah. So that's where we are right now. And
let me help me to break this down a little bit, because you talked about so many interesting aspects of that. So you talked about business analytics. You talked about analyzing image, voice. You talked about natural language understanding. You talked about this technology being applied to find patterns. and trends and behaves like you were mentioning. But let me ask you that. So it's artificial intelligence. It's really a technology that's gonna think like we think. How you see artificial intelligence going to a point that can really, make judgment, or or having empathy, means when we do something, right, Fabio? When we analyze a situation and when we make a decision, uh, we should be doing this, most of the time. We put ourselves in the situation. We project ourselves to that. Like, if it was with me, how I'm gonna feel it, how I'm gonna see it. So, how you believe artificial intelligence is navigating in this aspect of, is artificial intelligence going to replace human being, the way that we think, the way that we act?
Well, that's a pretty good and somewhat philosophical question, right?
I know.
I'm talking, guys, here about my opinions based on what I'm seeing and studying, but certainly you find people that have different opinions. So I think we will have some sort of thinking the way we do for AI, but we need a breakthrough. We need this technique that we are using right now, and that's not only my opinion. Even a few of the creators of these techniques are saying, "Hey, we are reaching the limit here." But I think that that's how far we can go in this with this kind of approach. That is basically, you get like literally billions, trillions of examples. You present to a training algorithm, and then whenever there's a situation, whenever it's looking at an image or something like that, it's basically recollecting all those millions of examples and say, "Hey, I know what you do in this situation because I've seen this before." Now,
Right.
it's like us, that you have an unseen, unpredicted situation, and you say, "Hey, I gotta think because I got all my knowledge, my culture, my education, and then okay, I'll take that decision." That's what we're missing. And then sometimes we see self-driving cars hitting white walls, and then we say, "Hey, what the heck was going on?" Probably there was not one example of someone driving straight to a huge white block in the middle of the street. So any human would say, "Hey, there's a wall there." I've never seen a wall, an example of my driving instructor hitting a wall, but it's there now. So definitely, Spencer, I think we have good researches, and we will take the next step. Now, will the next step be already the kind of consciousness that we have? I don't think so. I think we are still far. And honestly, now talking about my beliefs, I think that we'll get closer. We'll have systems that will help us better, and will help us thinking in some level. But and the complete human or consciousness, I think we're pretty far from that.
Yeah, I got the point. I really got the point, and I appreciated the way you explained. Now let me do a step back, Fabio, because we went too far on the conversation. Like, it's going to replace. Where's the common sense? Where are beliefs, right? Because
Yeah.
artificial, you make decisions, based on what you've seen, what you believe, faith. There's a lot of components, right? But let me step back and say, all right now, real world. How, for example, let's take us in the personal life. So I'm thinking now, like you were saying, where in my day to day I have AI apply it. It would be correct if I tell you the way that I see my understanding is like, "Hey, Fabio, I'm not talking about Stefanini right now. I'm talking about my house here. It's my Alexa, a sort of artificial intelligence. It's my now I installed this new irrigation system called Ratio, and it takes information from Weather Channel and other sensors and my neighbors and etc., and then it creates my watering schedule. So are those real examples of artificial intelligence that are impacting, facilitating, if I can say that, my personal life? Do you believe that? How you see it?
Yeah, and that's what I challenge you and the audience to think for a while. Stop to think about only the three categories that I was talking about: computer vision, natural language, and data analytics. Stop to think about, if you think you should start using AI, well, stop to think about what you have right now. You've talked about Alexa. Well, a lot of natural language. If you're using Google as well, if you're using Siri, natural language all over the place, voice recognition. So you've talked about your sprinklers, but do you have some sort of intelligent thermostat in your house?
Yeah, I do.
So it's getting, whenever you're changing over your phone or manually, it's sending all the data to the cloud, and we'll use that, either you like it or not, to get your profile. And if you allow, we'll even change temperature by itself to try to match your profile. But if you don't allow, certainly that data will be used somehow. When you're browsing in Chrome, Safari, any browser, if you've ever seen some ad or pop up with something that you were just thinking, well, there you have all the analytics being used. So we are really already in an ocean of those AI applications. They are being used and honestly, my best advice is use it to your benefit, because if you start to get paranoid and say, no, I don't want anything, well, you pretty much will have to live in some sort of hut in the forest without any kind of device.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. So they are all over the place. I was thinking about, even within my car and etc. You talked, and then it made some decisions. For example, navigation, etc. Now, I'm going to talk about business, Fabio. We in here in Stefanini, we talk a lot, and we're working with a good number of customers right now on AI ops. Right? So how I apply AI to really facilitate running my business, how I do incident management, problem management, root cause analysis, and trigger decisions, and etc. So how you are seeing this interconnection on, I would say, legacy platforms that we have spread all over the world right now. Let's take SAP as an example, or Salesforce an example. Are you seeing that much of artificial intelligence being integrated with this, big legacy platforms, and helping the business to run in a day-to-day, which we were calling AI ops?
Yeah, I mean, it's been for a while. We've had that distance, since we have those gadgets at home, and then we see cool things like the voice recognition and maybe the face recognition that you have over your phone, and then this kind of trend analytics on your thermostat or something. So those were things provided by the big companies, by the big AI players, and then you have this gap between what you can do in your business, because you have all the security measures and privacy concerns and all those things. Now, the last couple years, we had a lot of developments creating universal integrations, alternatives to run on-premise, hybrid, cloud, private clouds, and everything. So I guess nowadays, 2020, especially after the COVID situation, we have all the tools in place to apply the same technologies we have, the same ones I was talking about, from computer vision to data analytics to a natural language in the business process, with all these, let's say, shell of protection in terms of security, in terms of privacy, and also a lot of connectors connecting legacy systems to these new tools. So yeah, I think right now, and I'm seeing this in the market after the pandemic that sped up the situation. I think we are in a point that we definitely can apply those things, right? Not the philosophical thinking questions that they're having, the things that are available right now. We can definitely apply that in business.
Fabio, now for me it's kind of a the question to you right now. We kind of made a kind of a traveling time here. We went all far away, and with, like you said, then you're gonna reach philosophical aspects of the artificial intelligence. We went all the way back to what was traditionally called automation, right? When you just do things faster because you apply some business rules and then you do faster. And so you have that whole big spectrum between traditional automation and then passing through natural language and the neural
networks,
etc., cognitive, blah blah blah. People that know you know that you are creator of Sophie, our artificial intelligence platform, right? That started years ago with your doctorate thesis, or probably master and then doctorate thesis and etc. When you put together that at that time, that artificial intelligence platform that evolved today to what we have, Sophie, implemented and working and helping customers in all the geos, right? So with all this spectrum, where Sophie is right now, when you localize Sophie and say Sophie is right here, and what we have in front of us from a platform evolution, and how you see us helping clients more and more applying artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so that's a good point. That's a question that naturally I like to explore, and that's somewhat connected to what we've been talking about. That's why I moved to this slide here. So the wall that we are reaching right now, it's also raising a discussion about explainability. So you have the systems taking decisions. You have the final decisions based on an image, a voice, a sentence that the user said, but with the classical deep neural technique, that is the one getting the amazing results right now, you don't have a lot of explainability. So this image is interesting. So all the deep neural stuff, that's the school that we call connectionist. And the way this takes the decision to say that it's looking to a grape is a huge collection of trillions, let's say, of numbers that form this network. And then there's this single output saying, hey, if this is 1, it's a grape. If it's 0, it's not a grape. But if you put an image there, and then the system say that's a grape, and you say why, it'll say, well, because I multiplied this, I summed this, I multiplied that, blah 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 blah, and so it's a grape. You see, again, working amazingly for a lot of applications, but explainability, it's a challenge. And explainability, well, even the deep neural guys are working to try to find ways to explain this kind of decision. Now, there's an old school model that before in the 2000 and until 2006 years had a lot of attention, that was the symbolic school. Then you kind of create a meaning network when you say, hey, this is a grape because it has the color of the grape, it has the body of a grape, and so that's why I'm telling you it's a grape. Maybe it doesn't have the texture of a grape, but hey, I have enough information to say that it's pretty much like a grape. Now, there are a lot of limitations in that school, like training and etc. That's why it kind of got out of the spotlights for a while. Now, what we are starting to investigate again is some sort of hybrid approach where you have the neural networks to try to find the underlying structures, and then you combine that to give the final answer. That's how AI starts to think like us. So that's getting a lot of attention of the scientific community right now. And fortunately, that's how we built our own product 7 years ago. So we already believed at that time that this would be relevant in the way. Of course, we got a lot of, let's say, backlash saying, no, use the connectionist, is working fine for everyone else. But now we are starting to have that this has a lot of value. So answering your question, our product is ready to work with what we have right now in terms of state of the art. It's purely connectionist, but we are also thinking about taking this to the next step. And that means whenever Sof gives you an answer, you can ask, why are you answering me this? If it's a part of full answer, and then we can say, hey, that's why. And then we can teach her, change the connections, and so she'll reply you correctly next time.
Okay. Wow. Heavy stuff, folks. Heavy stuff on artificial intelligence. From my personal point of view and my takeaways, and I'll check with Amy if we have questions from the audience. But my takeaway is that, don't even think about, oh, should I start using AI? You probably are using already, both on your business and your personal lives, and that is it's not a matter of, can I stay out of that? I don't think so. I think it's natural. Everybody is getting the benefits of that as our customers that are using Sophie right now. But like you said, evolution to come, especially for this next level you're saying, when decisions will be made by artificial intelligence platform, and then they can be explained why that decision was made. So I really like that, and I think that's going to bring even more benefit for the AI ops and helping us to run all the business and all the thousands of decisions that we have to make every single day in a good landscape and a good platform environment that we have in our business. And then of course we feel that you can talk about this the whole day. So Amy, is there any questions from the audience at this point?
Yes, I do have a couple questions.
Go ahead. Shoot them too, Fabio.
Okay. So the first question is, if you were to switch from another technology to AI, where would you start this learning journey?
Well, I'll say do not switch. So usually AI can help you to enhance or to augment the technology that you have. So let's say that you have some sort of decision system working, or process, or automated process, anything like that, and of course you wanted to empower that or enhance that. Usually, typical systems, different from AI, they give you a yes or no. So you are already having that. AI will give you usually a level of confidence. Well, I'm 80% confident that this is right. It's very rare for AI to give you the 1 or 0, the yes or no. So usually when we start switching to AI, we train AI, and then there's all the techniques that I was talking about. But then your first version of AI will not be 100% accurate. And then to be meaningful and to give you returns of investment, you have to raise the bar a lot. You have to say, hey, I just want an AI to take action when I'm 95% sure, when AI is 95% sure, and then it will probably cover 10% of your cases. Then for all the 95% cases that AI is not handling, put your old system to work, regardless of the limitations or whatever are the problems. Now, over time, as you have more data, as you fine-tune your models, and as you have more cases, AI is you'll be comfortable of lowering the bar a little bit. AI is take better and better decisions, and then you can start thinking about turning off the old systems. Again, it's a high-level decision. I don't know which system you're talking about, but that's usually the best approach, not just replace immediately. Amy, other questions?
Yes. How will the introduction of 5G change AI as we know it today?
Great question. Yeah, great question. So we have a good portion of AI that doesn't require a lot of data and capacity and bandwidth and stuff. Honestly, thinking about the things that we've talked about, well, when you think about natural language and even data analytics, it's not a lot. So I guess we can continue to grow organically all the information that we collect, but that's not now. When we think about heavier things like videos and images and things like that, I guess we're gonna again reach a next level. So applications like that one, we have a cool a futuristic video where we have the glasses, and on your daily basis, your path and your decisions are being shown in real time in your glass. And hey, there's a pole right there. Move out. Things like that, because everything is happening. The analytics and all that computer power are available for you in real time. I guess we'll start to see more and more on that with 5G.
Great.
So bandwidth is not a struggle yet. It's not a bottleneck yet, but it will become eventually. So 5G is coming on the right time.
Yeah, and we'll push, right? We'll push these applications to explore more and more. Once you have the availability, people will start to have new ideas.
Yeah, I see that.
Great. What are the most common mistakes made in shifting to AI, and how do we avoid those mistakes?
Well, the models that we discuss nowadays, with very few exceptions, are heavily dependent on data. So if you're trying to solve or shift to AI and you don't have data, that's a common mistake. Again, there are exceptions. If you're going to use AI for something that is, let's say, cookie and cutter, and you can use the models that are available already, that those big players created, then you're fine. But if you want a specific application in your company, the first thing is evaluate the data that you have. If you have literally hundreds of thousands of examples, and I'm talking about label data, again, the input and the output example, that's one thing that you got to look initially to see if you can apply most of those AI techniques. Again, there are exceptions, but check first if your application requires a lot of data, or if it's something standard that you can use models that are ready. That's one thing. If you require a lot of data, take a look at their data and have some sort of data science or data analyst looking at that and say, hey, I can use that to apply AI. Those are the common mistakes in terms of the project planning technical side. The other side is believe, in terms of business return of investments, believe that this is the magic one that you're gonna turn on and you're gonna start solving your problems and giving you immediate results. Now, this is a journey that usually we've seen starting with some sort of either improvement in user experience and empowering in business decisions. So it's more helping people initially, and then naturally over time you have your returns of investment. So I guess those are the two major mistakes that I would say you gotta avoid when shifting to AI.
So Fabio, if I'm understanding correctly, right? It's always a journey, right? With AI, implementation, adoption, etc., etc.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and that's
the sooner you start, the better, right?
Yeah, and luckily enough, the journeys nowadays, they're not year long like they were before. We're already talking about months to plan, design, implement, having your users start having adoption, and then collect the data and have some good results. But still, I don't think it's the magic one as sometimes advertised. So we gotta take care.
Okay.
Maybe we'll be when we reach that next level. Maybe we'll be more like that, but I don't think we're there yet.
So I have a couple more questions. I have one from a gentleman named Antonio, and it's very specific. So if I miss the question, Antonio, please either ping me or message me if I didn't say it right. So this message or this note is directly to Fabio. To what extent is the lack of explainability preventing a quicker adoption of AI? He says that I am concerned that the input explainable output mindset is stringing strong among technical and management professionals.
So if I understood, I mean, Antonio, you're asking what are the problems or challenges or difficulties that we are having if we do not have the explainability in the models? Is that right? And if you can send to Amy just yes, it is or not, just to see if I understood clearly the question.
I can also unmute you, Antonio, if you want to ask, if I said it correctly.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We could barely hear you.
Oh, hello, Amy. Thank you very much. Fabio, the
Yes.
question is, can you hear me, Fabio?
Yeah, I can. Hi, Antonio.
Yeah, the question is, good morning. The
Good morning.
question is, do you believe that the lack of explainability is causing difficulties for an increase in the adoption of AI? And the reason is maybe the technical people have been trained that they have to explain. They are very technical. They have an explainability mindset, and it's not possible in some complex AI models. So do you believe it's a barrier for adoption of AI? That's basically what I was getting your thoughts on. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been not in all applications. I mean, if you have, it depends on what you are doing, right? And again, it's related to the philosophical questions. So we have cases where AI is helping to predict. I cannot disclose everything, but to predict trends, let's say in the market for a particular industry and stuff like that. And again, for that particular case, we didn't have an explainable model. So when the final result arrived at the business decision makers and everything, that was the first question that they asked. I mean, okay, I'm seeing this prediction. It seems to make sense for me, but why the model is giving that prediction? So I guess honestly, it's not the technical people, because we are already used to the machine learning stuff and deep neural networks. We understand the mathematical behind the models, but for business people, they see, no, you're giving me some advice to follow it, I must ask you why. So I guess it's somewhat a concern nowadays. But again, that doesn't block you from using in less critical, let's say, decisions or cases. When you have your users asking for how to's and help and that kind of natural language application, usually the worst case that is going to happen is that the bot's not going to give you a good answer, and then the training will have to understand why the bot gives that. So we see Alexa and Google getting longer answers all the time, and it's not a life-threatening matter, right? But for all the other reasons, self-driving cars, critical decisions, and things like that, I guess that's dampening a little bit the adoption, and that's why not only business but the scientific community all over the world is discussing this matter right now. And not only the symbolic guys are showing their alternatives like we are with our Sophie platform, but the pure connectionist guys are also looking for to explain their model in a way that humans can understand the decision. So in summary, I guess, for non-critical decisions applications, that's not been a roadblock or roadblock. Critical and all the ethical decisions, I'm not even going to enter in weaponizing AI. Yes, that's been a major concern. We are seeing the face recognition banned from companies that is somewhat related to that because they are not explaining why certain kinds of people are not being recognized. So that's what how I see the matter right now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Fabio.
Great point, Antonio. Thanks for your contribution.
You have more questions, Amy? Go ahead. I can talk about it the whole day, like Spencer, the topic.
I think we have time to squeeze in one more. Can you talk a little bit about how to reduce the bias with data sets for AI?
Sensitive questions. All that I'm going to say about that, I'm not entering that bias. That's certainly a delicate matter right now. And all I can say is it exploded today, and exactly because we cannot explain why those AI models are taking those decisions. Well, we can explain mathematically based on the data sets that were used to train, but I think that to remove any kind of bias, we need to go to the next level. AI must think and understand, even if it's initially the way a kid, a child, a toddler thinks. We are not talking about Nobel Prize thinking AI, but AI must start to reason and to think a little bit closer to the way we do. Because as far as we know, looking at the world outside, we are a successful model of navigating through all the difficulties in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Fabio, thank you so much. A great topic. I really want to say to the people that still having that question, I said, reach out to Fabio. You can find him on social media and reach out to Fabio throughout one of our official channels at Stefanini, and you guys gonna have a great conversation. I'm pretty sure about that. From my side, Fabio, thanks for the the content and all the explanations. I understand better now compared to my understanding 45 minutes ago about where we are in AI and what are the challenges to to come, and a better vision of how AI is helping us in a day-to-day, and of course I know about AI on the business and helping our customers, but there's much more out there for all of us to tap into. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I mean, to have this 45 minutes talking about that made my day.
Thank
All
you
right.
again, everyone, Fabio and Spencer, for joining us and leading us through this topic. Like I mentioned in the beginning, we did record this session, and we will be sending out the recording that included the Q&A with some main takeaways from the presentation. So thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Got
Bye-bye.
it. Bye. Bye, Fabio. Bye, Amy.
Bye.